In the Garden of Eden, a picture of pristine beauty, of lush abundance, of perfect harmony, Adam and Eve, the first humans, walked with God in the cool of the day. They enjoyed a blissful existence free from pain, worry, and death, surrounded by God's love, a sheltering embrace in their paradise. However, this idyllic existence held a test, a single forbidden tree in the midst of plenty. Enter the serpent, cunning and deceptive, a creature of both beguiling charm and sinister intent. He whispered doubt into Eve's heart, questioning God's command and tempting her with forbidden knowledge. "Did God really say?" he hissed, sowing seeds of uncertainty and rebellion. He promised Eve enlightenment, a godlike understanding of good and evil, if she would only disobey. Tempted by the allure of hidden knowledge and enticed by the serpent's promises, Eve took the forbidden fruit. She shared it with Adam, and in that moment, their innocence shattered. The world as they knew it irrevocably changed. They had chosen knowledge over obedience, pride over humility, and in doing so they ushered sin and death into the world. The consequences of their actions were immediate and devastating. Their eyes were opened, but not to the wisdom they had craved. Instead, they saw their own nakedness, a physical manifestation of their newfound shame and vulnerability. Fear replaced their previous confidence, and they hid from God's presence. The intimacy of their relationship shattered. Genesis 3 describes a profound tragedy, the fall of humanity from grace into sin. It is a story that transcends time, resonating deeply with our own experiences of temptation, choice, and the consequences that follow. At its heart lies a fundamental question: would we choose knowledge or obedience? Would we trust in God's goodness and wisdom, or would we grasp for something beyond our rightful place? The serpent's temptation was cunningly crafted, appealing to our innate desire for knowledge and our longing for autonomy. He presented disobedience not as a rebellion against God, but as a path to enlightenment, a way to become like God. This temptation, the desire to be our own gods, continues to echo through human history, manifesting in our pursuit of power, control, and self-sufficiency. Adam and Eve's choice reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. We are prone to wander, to question, to desire what is forbidden. We are easily swayed by deception, especially when it aligns with our own desires. This inherent vulnerability, this capacity for both good and evil, is at the core of our being. It reminds us that we are not God, and our attempts to usurp His authority inevitably lead to suffering and brokenness. Yet within this story of disobedience and loss, there is a glimmer of hope. God, in His infinite mercy, did not abandon Adam and Eve. He cursed the serpent, promising enmity between his offspring and the offspring of the woman, foreshadowing a future redemption. He provided clothing for Adam and Eve, covering their shame and demonstrating His continued care. And though He banished them from the garden, He did not leave them without hope. The consequences of Adam and Eve's sin were far-reaching, impacting not only their own lives but the very fabric of creation. God cursed the serpent, the woman, and the man, each curse reflecting the nature of their transgression. The ground was cursed for Adam's sake, bringing forth thorns and thistles, a constant reminder of the brokenness that had entered the world. Adam and Eve's expulsion from the Garden of Eden symbolizes the separation from God that sin creates. No longer could they walk with Him in the cool of the day, enjoying the intimacy and fellowship they once knew. They were exiled from paradise, forced to toil and struggle in a world now marred by sin and death. The curse on the woman brought pain in childbirth, a physical manifestation of the spiritual anguish that sin had introduced. It also spoke of the distorted relationships between men and women that would follow, the harmony of their original union replaced by conflict and misunderstanding. The serpent's curse was perhaps the most significant, as it foreshadowed the ongoing battle between good and evil that would define human history. God promised enmity between the serpent and the woman's offspring, a conflict that would culminate in the crushing of the serpent's head by the seed of the woman. This prophecy, pointing towards a future Redeemer, offered a glimmer of hope in the midst of judgment. The concept of original sin is one of the most challenging and often misunderstood doctrines of the Christian faith. It does not mean that we are guilty of Adam and Eve's specific sin, but rather that we have inherited their fallen nature. We are born into a world tainted by sin, and we are all susceptible to its allure. Romans 5:12 tells us, "Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people, because all sinned." This verse highlights the universal nature of sin. It is not merely a collection of individual wrongdoings but a fundamental condition that affects all humanity. We see evidence of this fallen nature all around us, in the selfishness, greed, and violence that plague our world. We experience it within ourselves, in our own struggles with temptation, our capacity for cruelty, and our often misguided desires. Original sin reminds us that we are not as we should be. We are broken, flawed, and in desperate need of redemption. However, original sin is not the end of the story. While it explains our brokenness, it also points towards our need for a Savior. Just as sin entered the world through one man, Adam, so too does redemption come through one man, Jesus Christ.